Meantime, this week, the president topped his goal of 100 million shots in his first 100 days, cutting the timetable for reaching that milestone pretty much in half. This in large part thanks to mass vaccination sites across the country. And today, Nashville is having its largest one-day vaccination effort with the target of treating 10,000 residents. Let's go to NBC's Gary Grumbach, who's joining us from the Nissan Stadium in Nashville. So, Gary, welcome. How's the process going so far?
Well, it's going well here. So there's 10,000 vaccines that are going to be administered here. These are the tents where it's happening, Alex. Folks are getting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine throughout the day here, and it's being administered by 700 volunteers. Folks tell me they're about halfway through the capacity and the number of vaccines they have. And now this parking lot really has sort of been the story of the pandemic. It's seen food drives, it's seen PPE drives, it saw a testing center earlier on in the pandemic. And then, of course, this was actually the command center for that Nashville Christmas Day bombing. Now it is a vaccination center. And so they're doing 10,000 vaccines today. And folks that I've talked to, officials tell me demand is high here in Nashville. And in fact, it's so high that when sign-up happened last week, it sold out faster than a Dolly Parton show back in 2015 did here at the Ryman Auditorium. So this demand is really high in Nashville, but it's not high everywhere. And that is where the issue is. I spoke to the head of the Nashville Coronavirus Task Force. Here's what he said about the supply versus demand issue.
In the rural communities, what we're finding is a lot of people just don't believe that this virus is still an issue, or there's mistrust that this vaccine actually needs to happen. I can tell you that it's not for a lack of access. The state of Tennessee has over 500,000 open appointments available right now in the state, and mainly in the rural areas. So it's not for a lack of access. The state of Tennessee has actually done a really good job providing those vaccines. People are just not taking advantage of it, and I think a lot of that has to do with misinformation and a lack of national leadership from people that they trust that convince them to go get a vaccine.
Now, Dr. Jahangir says that he's going out to the community, both here in Nashville and around rural areas, and saying, hey, go to these churches, go to these other community leaders and say they really do need to get vaccinated, that vaccines are safe and effective, according to officials. Now, of course, Alex, it's Nashville, and it can't be Nashville without a little bit of fun. There's been country music playing for folks here during their waiting period, some Titans cheerleaders and mascots as well.